into the opportunities, we work with local partners to deliver and also collaborate with or link them up with international partners so that there's also that growth and exchange that happens. And also follow our social media handles to be able to get up to date and websites of all the opportunities. So there's the music program, which I was speaking to. And then we also have the Festival Connect Fund, which piloted this year. It's a 3-year program. And we'll be looking at doing something much more specific and curated for Zimbabwe, which allows festivals in Zimbabwe to collaborate, to showcase, and to connect with other festivals in the region and also beyond Africa. And then we also have Music Connects, which is going to be taking artists from Zimbabwe to Kigali, Rwanda for Music in Africa. That's a new partnership where we are supporting mobility and showcasing through the Music Connects Africa. And then beyond Africa, we also have festivals like Humax. I know that Jacaranda Festival is going to be participating at Humax Festival in Manchester this year. And also we do have Sonica, which is also in Scotland, where we send delegations from across African countries and other international delegates to meet. And the opportunity there for our artists and creatives is when you go into these spaces, connect beyond the local people, also connect as regional counterparts so that you get to grow and collaborate regionally. Yeah. So I think at top of my head, those are the key sort of opportunities that we have. Our opportunities really sit mostly in 2 portfolios. So the first one is really around the cultural exchange, experimental work, breeding new work to come in, new talent, and exploring different issues around the arts and culture sector. And then the second portfolio, which is the biggest one for Africa region, is really looking at professionalizing and building businesses within the cultural and creative sector, as this is the next big employer for Africa and also for the young people. Yeah, thank you.
I hope you're taking notes for some of these programs and you've already found which one you want to connect with. If you haven't, please make sure you reach out to Farai and Melissa and just nudge them, get a business card, email them, and learn more about some of these programs so you can connect and be part of whatever is happening. Now, one last question from me before we turn it to the floor, which is, what are some of the key challenges that we find when people are trying to have these global music collaborations, and how can they be addressed? I'll start with you, Melissa.
I think initially, if you haven't had experience collaborating, there's a reluctance to share the space, perhaps, which is a pity because the musicians that I've worked with, for them, that's the joy. The most joyful part of their year is when they get to work on these collaborations. That's where the magic really happens. I just saw one of the most powerful performances I have ever witnessed, which was a collaboration that had only happened once before years ago in Turkey at the Gümüşlük Music Festival between a South African guitar player, Derek Gripper, and a Malian kora player, Balake Sissoko, I believe. So Derek Gripper plays the guitar and learned how to play it like a kora instrument. And they performed live at this music festival in March, and it was magic. And if either of those musicians were afraid to collaborate, that magic never would have happened. And it's not like they're a performing duo forever around the world together. They get together every few years to perform. They put out works together, but they also do other collaborations. And that's where I think the discovery is also really important about our musical history. You can, if there's a musician in the United States, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Bela Fleck. He plays the banjo. The banjo was initially thought to be a bluegrass white man's instrument, but he, I think it was back in 2008, made a documentary called Throw Down Your Heart, where he traveled around Africa to discover the source of the banjo, which is Gambia. And it was amazing through that collaboration, the history that he discovered. So for me, collaboration means understanding the magic that can happen at the moment, understanding the history of the music, where it came from, and building the future.
Farai, if you can tell us what are some of the challenges that come with just collaborations in the global music space and how they can be addressed.
Okay. So some of the challenges when it comes to collaboration, I think it's the matching of artists or creators or professional cultural professionals in this space. If it's not the right one and it's just done without thinking through it or really designing what this collaboration is about, then it poses failure and less positive outcomes or anything that is enriching through that process. So collaboration is the key thing. However, there's need to really bring the right people into the same space to be able to find that spark and also that equation which leads to 4.6 or 10, like I said before. And then the second one is you find that with some collaborations with globally, for some time, that collaboration has posed power dynamics where we are going to learn. And that mindset shift is actually happening, and we see it with young people. And I'm just saying it to encourage us to continue owning who we are and our space and understanding our key role in the global music scene as Africa. And that should shift how you perceive these global collaborations. It's really a shared learning, and could be more learning from you, which you're also giving to the other side. So that mindset shift is really important. And then the last thing is, in all the work that we do for global collaborations or even for creative enterprise, for new people who are coming in and they don't really understand what this space would look like or why they are there, our departure point is we always start with the end goal. This is your career. This is your livelihood. So you need to really immerse yourself into that opportunity, because these opportunities are limited, especially opportunities which allow collaboration among artists in Africa and not going outside, Those are limited. So once you grab or you have that opportunity, immerse yourself into it. Look at, what is it that I can give? What is it that I'm taking away? And how can I, take all the things that are happening in this collaboration in terms of growing your social capital, your cultural capital, and importantly, your economic capital. So having those serious conversations when we're doing these collaborative programs, especially with new people who are coming into it, is critical, so that we also really try to change this mindset of the arts and culture space being a hobby. No, it's actually a livelihood, it's actually a career, it's an industry, it's a business. Thanks.
Amazing you say that. This past August, I was in Des Moines, Iowa, and trying to connect with a lot of people. I met some guys from Burundi. Now, whilst we were there, because we're Africans, we did the African thing, which is just my bro, my bro, my bro. And we're at a barbecue, and they throw some meat on the grill, and we're talking, they're playing music. And whilst they're playing music, they start playing Darawa Chawuya. So I think they are playing this because they are trying to impress me. Then I asked, like, how do you know this artist? He's like, yeah, this guy's from your country, right? I'm like, yes. It turns out that because they're from Burundi, they consume a lot of music from Tanzania, Kenya, and Rwanda, and Uganda. And when Watora Mari came out, that's when they discovered Japrez and they started to listen to Japrez. And up until this day, they consume Japrez and they're from Burundi. And that is the power of collaboration. I kid you not, Japreza does not think he has fans in Burundi, but he does. And that's what collaboration does. We're going to open the floor right now to questions. We have 2 roving mics. If you could just raise your hand, wave. Yes, that's our mic. If you have a question, stick to one question. Don't make them 3 or 4. Ask the question you really want to ask, right? So that we give others a chance. If you have a question, feel free to just raise your hand. A mic will be passed on to you, and you can direct it to the guest. We've got one over there.
Okay, so my question is, I heard you saying that you have got events that are open for artists. So I want to know if it's open for only recording artists, like the artists that are already recording their music, or it's also up for any artist, even an upcoming artist who has not yet recorded his or her music.
Okay. So our programs cut across the different layers of one's career. So even, let's say I graduate from the university and you know that you've got the talent, you're interested, yes, you can apply for opportunities that speak to you. And then if you're also early career artist, mid-career, or the mature ones, we do have opportunities that speak to those different categories. What is important is with all these opportunities, we recognize how they each need each other to be able to have that sustainability and growth within the business. And if you're coming in fresh, we also have our So Creative e-learning platform, which is a digital offer, open globally. Anyone can access it. And what it does, it takes you through the journey of what it means for you when you're coming into this space, new, fresh, to just have an understanding of the landscape. What are the things that are critical for you to know in terms of setting up your business? Who am I as an artist? The policies and how they're important for you within your own context, the power of collaboration and networking and so forth. So that platform is out there and anyone can access it. So the answer is yes, there are opportunities for everyone.
And my answer is it depends on the program. So you would have to look at the requirements for each program as they become available to see what you need to participate. But I would encourage everyone here who is a performer to invest in your portfolio and have materials that make it clear for people to see and understand what performance you can provide. And you can do that easily without any embassy programs behind you by first just looking at some of the artists that you admire. Look online, look at their portfolios, what do they have available. When I used to work for the music festival, we wouldn't necessarily always have to work with an agent, but if the artist didn't even have a portfolio where we could see and hear what they do, we didn't have anything to consider them on. So that is essential in your self-promotional materials. I don't think relying only on scandalous TikTok messages is going to get you very far, but having a solid portfolio will.
And if you can just give us insights into what a great portfolio looks like, because what you did is just tell us what is not a great portfolio. So if you could just do like a quick shotgun tips on what a great portfolio looks like, as someone who used to be a festival booker, and as someone who also works in that space where you probably consider applications.
Well, so we need some clips of performances. It doesn't mean they need to be professionally studio recorded, but we need to understand what it is you do, what instrument you play, or if you're a vocalist, if it's an ensemble or solo group, there needs to be images. You need to have a press kit. Any festival, that's the first thing they're going to do, to put together their program to sell your concert. So we need to see that. We need to see some history of reliability in other performances that you've done. Those are all great examples. And how you build your network is through collaborating with other musicians. If that's through the Stanbic music scene initially, that takes you wider and wider. I've worked with musicians from around the world, and that's how they started.
And it's so easy now. It's what a time to be an artist, because right now all you need is a phone to do that. Back in the day, you needed someone to have a camera. You needed someone to be a professional graphic designer to do that. Now you can do that on Canva. You can do that with your phone. You can do that in CapCut and actually and all this can happen on your phone, compile it and make it look professional and send it out. So what a time to be an artist. I'm going to just disrupt okay, we're going to have a question over there, but I just want, Keith, for you to prepare. You've collaborated with the British Embassy for Scripts and Bars, right?
British Council.
British Council, sorry. British Council. And we just need you to tell us what that experience was like and what were some of the insights in the collaborative effort. But we're going to take that question at the back first.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. First of all, thank you for taking the time out to arrange this and talk to us. I wanted to ask now, the British Council and the U.S. Embassy, as an event producer, operating in the music space, whether fashion or film, what do you look for in terms of collaborators? Maybe what are the 5 main tips in terms of, for example, if I have an event or an accelerator program, a workshop, and I would need to partner with the British Council or the U.S. Embassy. Maybe 5 tips on what you guys look for and how can we be competitive.
Okay. All right. So what we look for, because you're an event producer, it means you're responsible for putting up events and also bringing other people along and building a community, and also really supporting the growth and ecosystem of your own space. Yeah. So what we are looking for is, first and foremost, it goes back to the portfolio, your past experiences in the space that you have done. And this is not something that is of big magnitude. No, small, I think it's just recording events that you have done. And also, secondly, collaboration. We really work with organizations or individuals who see the value of collaboration, the value of working with others, and bringing other people along. So we also look at whom have you collaborated with. And then secondly, we also look at your network, your community. What is that social value that you have? And this can be not magnitude again. So it's all, just evidence of past work that you have done. And then also what is important, if you're an established business, it needs to be formalized. So are you registered according to the laws of your country, Zimbabwe, and tax certificates and all that? That is critical if you're applying as a business. And then if you're an individual, those things do not apply. However, at a certain point, we also then encourage you to formalize. And the reason why we do this is, if you look at Stanbic Bank, they will not invest in an informal setup. They will need things to be formalized. So we also need to really look at what are the global standards, what are other players in Africa doing within the sector, and formalization is critical. So we also try to work with you to get to the next level and not just leave you at where we found you. So it's a paired journey with us. And I'm happy that Keith will be here to share his experiences with us as well. I hope those 3 points. Then, Melissa.
Thank you. So a little differently than the British Council, the American Embassy doesn't focus necessarily on film or fashion. We do have film programs and different ways we support, but I think maybe you're asking about getting a grant for an event per se. And we have notice of funding opportunities that come out at certain times of the year. And I'd encourage you to reach out to Buto for details of what a grant requires. But it is generally organizations that are formed that have some history of putting something on. And it's not just about the event itself, but about the economic impact of how that carries forward and pushes together our policy priorities.
Buto, if you could just stand and just turn around so that people can see what you're wearing. Yeah. That's Buto. When she said you can reach out to Buto, that's Buto. Make sure you bother Buto. Buto, say aye.
And I also just want to add something. When we are working with partners, we also look at your fairness in remuneration to artists, and also your understanding of rights and IP, especially in the music, film, and fashion industry. Yeah, Keith will say more to this and why we do it. We do not work with partners who do not pay artists or think that exposure is good enough. I think we are past that at this point.
I've got a whole bank account full of exposure bills, I'm telling you.
I know. Yeah.
Keith, you've got 3 minutes to tell us what that experience was like, so that you can shed light on what that that collaboration was like and how it was, looking for some of those collaborations, development, and all that.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Keith Kuwudza. I'm from K Media Africa. We are the implementing partner for a program by British Council called Scripts and Bars, which is a music and literature program for creatives between the ages of 18 to 35. And basically the idea was to invest in young creatives through supporting them through collaboration, training and skills development, digital skills development, and business skills development, and also investment in terms of grant funding for their projects. So in terms of collaborating, first of all, with the British Council has been phenomenal because you have a partner who has a heart for the creative sector, and they really want to drive that. So it makes it easier rather than just getting someone who's just giving you money and saying, do this. It's more than just getting funding for a program. It's the support structure, the linkages, the people they connect you with. For example, the partner that we ended up collaborating with in delivering the program called Represent from the UK, that was a linkage to the British Council. We had never met these people, we'd never worked with them, but we've now worked with them for over 3 years, such that we actually do things beyond the program itself. We're now collaborating on other exchange programs and other ideas and projects. So that creates relationships, it strengthens the work that you do, and it expands your audience and your markets. So that was part of the experience. One of the things was they also give you opportunities to connect with other industry players. For example, last year I had the opportunity through British Council, they sent me to Access last year in Dar es Salaam, and there I met a number of big industry players in the music industry who we managed to bring in to Zimbabwe this year to meet some of our Scripts and Bars participants, and one of them happened to be Nati O's manager, and we facilitated. Now Nati O has got an international record deal with Dito Africa, which wouldn't have happened if that
Come on, that's
connection,
a good place to clap. Come on.
That connection hadn't happened. So, and because of that collaboration, he's now has opportunities to collaborate with artists in the UK, artists in East Africa who Dito works with, and that expands his markets. And it's not just him, there are other artists like Ryan Synth who will be going on a European tour because we've connected him to different partners through this program that we've linked with. So collaboration is key, it opens doors, it just accelerates the work that you're doing, basically, yeah.
What I learned from what Keith has said is that he pays people fairly. That's why he was a partner.
Yeah,
good to know you pay people fairly.
Keith, we're also taking artists to Access Music in Africa in Kigali in November, and all the ripple effects and what outcomes of it, we're also looking forward to it. And we also have our own artists through the program with Keith, support being on Jacaranda Music Festival on Saturday, which is also amazing. Yeah.
All right. We're going to get 2 more questions before we have Melissa and Farai to wrap up and really empty some of the things that they wish they would have said but probably didn't come up in the question. So if you have a question, we're only taking 2. Just raise your hand and Mike will come to you and you can ask your question. Make sure it's succinct or it's concise, it's short, I'm looking for more words, looking for people to raise their hands. No? Going once? Twice? All right. So I think to conclude the session, I'm going to allow each to have a moment to just... when you got the call that this is what we want you to speak about at the conference, this the stuff you're like, I'm going to tell them this, right? That's what we want to hear. You can get a moment. Melissa, I'll start with you, then I'll come to you, Farai.
Because the topic of this conversation was to be about collaboration, I just wanted to speak to the power of the collaboration that I understand for musicians may at sometimes be frightening in some ways. Just as you gain confidence in your own performance to share that stage or that space with someone else can be frightening. So being clear about communicating credits and titles, I think, is really important in writing from the beginning, so that there are no surprises. And as Farai was saying, not all genres go well together. Not every collaboration is going to work, and some of them require extra time and space of a residency and rehearsals. If we worked with musicians at the music festival that had never performed together, they would have to come in days to maybe a week in advance and just spend that time rehearsing and practicing together. That takes an extra commitment, but it opened new worlds to them. So a mandolin player, Mike Marshall, collaborating with mandolin bands from Brazil, Hamilton de Holanda. Maybe they couldn't even speak in long conversations together in a shared language, but those days in that space rehearsing together made that performance so powerful. And for the musicians themselves, that I know is where they feel the magic happens. And that's why they will end up going back to some festivals again and again, to the places that give them that space for residency and rehearsal and collaboration.
Okay. So I think for me, when it comes to my parting words with collaboration, it's key and we cannot avoid it, and you shouldn't. And we are here to walk that journey with you in our different programs. Like Keith said, we don't give you the money and just say goodbye. We understand that we need to work with you. I think one of the things when it comes to collaboration, which I've seen through the music programs that we run across the region and globally, is as an artist or a creator, do not lose yourself when you're collaborating. Do not pick up things which then dilute you or lose your identity, because that's not a healthy collaboration. It ceases to be a collaboration. The power of collaboration, it should allow you to continue telling your own story, your own identity, and importantly, it should support you to continue curating your career and your vision. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, as at the moment, currently, what I see and also read about, and when I look at the different opportunities that are happening globally, there is something happening around black music. And this is the time for us to really, tighten our belts, come together and collaborate. I shared that we will be launching a music program in Zimbabwe. And with how we work, nothing is final until a partner is on board or partners on board, and nothing is final until the participants of the program are on board. And what this means is we need each and everyone's ideas, ways of seeing things, and understanding the landscape to shape the final project or program. So we are really open to having more voices speak to what this program should look like, whom should we be collaborating with, who are the mentors should be coming in, and so on and so forth. So for British Council, my parting words is do not feel like you're not able to connect with us, or you're not at the moment in your career where you should be connecting with the British Council. No, we are open for everyone. And come to us, and we also come to you for us to have those open conversations, challenging each other. That's how we'll be able to grow and to continue innovating. Thank you.
One more time for Melissa Paulson from the U.S. Embassy and Farai Ngue from the British Consul. Now, we're going to allow them for about 5 minutes because I know them. People like Melissa and Farai, once they are done with their panel, they usually just whisk away during another panel, and you won't have an opportunity to say, hello, may I please have a business card? I really wanted to ask a personal question, but I couldn't really get it out because Now, because I understand this, because there are people who have wanted to speak to but couldn't because then they left during a session and I never saw them again. Now, say Arnold is about to be kind to us. Come on. I'm going to allow us for a quick 10-minute session where you're going to have a quick shotgun meeting with either Farai or Melissa. Just get there, say what you want to say, don't explain your question, just say what you want to say quickly and get out, okay? So that you can give others a chance who want to have a conversation with them. And we'll return at exactly 10:25, gather again, and prepare for the next session. Is that okay?
Yeah. Can I
Yes?
Yes. So British Council, yes, I'm here, Farai, but I also have my team, which walks the same journey with me. British Council team.
Wait, Farai. If you're from the U.S. Embassy, come to the front. Come.
Yeah.
If you're from the British Council, come to the front. Come. Let's go, guys. Let's go. We don't have time. So, that's U.S. Embassy, right? That's Wuto. Wuto, who you with? U.S. Embassy. Yes. No, who you with?
No, this is
British Council. So, British Council, come this side, Farai's side, and U.S. Embassy, stand that side. These are your people. Go. Come on, guys. They're over here. If you want to ask a question, you want to get a business card, you want to get insights into anything, go.
kushongisa lokungari ringateka ntombi leyi ayangena lomuya babu teka 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 leswa kushombisa lokungari dale ringateka ntombi leyi ayangena lomuya babu teka 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 teka
moyo wangu unofara kango funga wewe zvirotonde zvangu zviroto zvako zvese sezvangu kwauri hakuna zvimwe payendotoga kumasango kutarangu sakanganwe kundidziisa payendotoga kumasango kutarangu sakanganwe kundidziisa sakanganwe kundidziisa paendotoka kumasango kutarangu sakanganwe kundidziisa paendotoka kumasango kutarangu sakanganwe kundidziisa paendotoka kumasango kutarangu sakanganwe kundidziisa
That client review was brutal.
We're gonna be underwater for weeks.
I'm already so pruny.
This is fixable. Just use Grammarly. We'll crush it.
I'm already crushed. I cannot be crushed any further. Spoke too soon.
Okay, first use Grammarly's AI to sound confident so the team doesn't think you're drowning. Now let's get to that proposal. Grammarly can look through the proposal to find what's missing.
Wow.
Like in the intro, you need to show the clients what's at stake.
That took me 2 days to write. I had to ignore like 18 things from Pat just to focus on it.
Well, now it takes one click. And look, Grammarly knows the audience is non-technical, so it can take out the jargon.
Cool.
And make the benefits easier to understand.
Wow. I think our clients are gonna love this.
I'm going to resubmit it. And with Grammarly working across 500,000 apps and websites, we'll never be underwater again!
It's approved. Tell the team. But hey, I think 8 exclamation marks might be overdoing it. Grammarly says 1 is enough.
Well, I appreciate that, Grammarly, but this is an 8 exclamation situation.
Yeah, totes. Download Grammarly for free.
Waiva no moyo mangwe Daiwa wana mufaro Kweze kwa uchazo enda Kweze kwa uchazo enda Chani nongo shuira Mashoka kanditaurira azinyore Hondo iri moyo mangu nefungwa aizinyore Moyo wangu wote bomofonera pamazoti uzafone Uya undiwone uhope Uya undipote uhope Tingosekatiridoza uhope Jimerondaringa pone uhope
Azina makawandira Chero muhondo echimure Vanhu vaingoramba Nokuzuira zvirinani Dai wandirambira burumbo Ndaiti ndichabudira Asi kundiramba usina chikunzi Chaninongoshuira kuti usadona Mashoko kanitaurira azinyore Hondo iri moyo mangu nefungwa aizinyore Moyo wangu wotimbo munyorera Wazoti usanyore Moyo unione urope
All right. I think we can wrap up and find our places, back to our seats. If you haven't already gotten a chance to say hi to someone, I hope you got that chance when we were interacting. May we please find our places so that we can continue with the program. May we please find our places so that we can continue with the program. May we please find our places. We need to continue with the program.
And I think I also met Ami Jamanda. I spoke to Mufaro, Chifamba, and I'm yet to meet everybody else. Thank you.
Marianne Ball is a singer-songwriter. She has an album out right now. You need to go check it out. It's a fantastic album. It's doing so well, right? And just support her if you can. Now, raise your hand if you got one of these. Raise your hand if you haven't gotten one of these. All right. Just keep your hand up so that they can leave some of those. You need to get there too. So guys, just take note of the ones who have their hands up so that you can make sure you leave some of those where they are, right? I want to take this opportunity to welcome the Director of the National Arts Council, Mr. Napoleon Yanni. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Can we just give a round of applause? At this moment, we want to welcome the Director of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture, Promotion and Development at the Ministry of... Sorry, let me take that again. I want to welcome the Director of Arts and Culture, Promotion and Development at the Ministry of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture, Mr. Biggie Samwanda, for a keynote address. Come on, help him as he comes to the stage.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. It's usually a mouthful for people, the ministry, but it's good to find that the Director was making corrections, because many times people fail to give the proper nomenclature of the ministry of where they call home as creatives. So I'm appreciative of that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm standing here in someone's shoes, and as has been said, I'm the Director for Arts and Culture, Promotion and Development, but I'm standing in for Honorable Kazembe, who is our Acting Minister of Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture. And Honorable Kazembe is also the Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage. So what I'm going to be reading, I'll read it as it is. And I remember at another session when I was standing in for the Honorable Minister, and I was reading the speech, I got to a part that says, I am pregnant, and I was reading that and people looked at me. And I said, yeah, but it's not me. I can see you're looking at me in our scans. I'm just reading someone's prepared notes. So I'll start. The organizers of the Stanbic Bank Jacaranda Music Business Conference. I will acknowledge my permanent secretary, who is not here, Ms. Nicholas Moyo, in absentia. The Director for the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, Ms. Napoleon Yanni, the Executive Director of the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, Mr. Chikukwa, representatives from the USA Embassy, I hope they are still here, representatives from the British Council, representatives from the Spanish Embassy, and other members from the diplomatic corps who are here present, representatives from Stanbic Bank itself. I've seen our UNESCO culture expert, Ms. Farai Mfunya, formerly Culture Fund Zimbabwe Trust Director, our esteemed creatives, members of the media fraternity, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great joy and honor that I stand before you today at the Stanbic Jacaranda Music Business Conference, a remarkable gathering that celebrates the essence of our culture and creativity. The festival theme, the music, the city, the people, quote unquote, encapsulates the very spirit of our nation, a spirit that resonates well through our vibrant sounds, our rich history, and our collective aspirations. As we come together in this beautiful city of Harare, we are reminded of music's unique power to connect people, given the fact that it has been proven oftentimes that music transcends boundaries. Thus, music is indeed a universal language of humanity. It cuts across barriers. It also speaks to our emotions. And in the process of experiencing it, music also mirrors and reflects our identity. Music is not merely an art form. It is the heartbeat of our communities, a voice for the voiceless, and a canvas for our stories to be told. Today I want to share with you the vision of our government for the creative sector as articulated in the Zimbabwe Music Strategy 2022 to 2027. Allow me to put a disclaimer here. Ms. Nyani can talk through this strategy very articulately. The strategy framework is a roadmap designed to elevate our music industry, fostering an environment where our artists can thrive, innovate, and express themselves freely. The aspect of empowerment and support for creatives. At the core of our vision is empowerment. We recognize that our artists are the custodians of our culture and bear the responsibility of narrating our stories in as much as they oftentimes cast into the future. It is thus critical that there is empowerment that supports creators at every level of their creative process if we are to make indelible marks in their musical careers. This includes having access to funding, training, and mentorship programs that afford them the much-needed exposure and paying platforms to fly. All this equip our musicians with the necessary skills that enable them to navigate the complexities of the 21st century music industry. We aim as a ministry, working with development partners in the corporate world, to develop initiatives that will not only promote local talent and ensure that artists can eke out sustainable livelihoods from their craft, but to also bring respectability to the music sector and its value chains, so that they are not labeled and called names like Marombe by society. By investing in our creatives, we are investing in the respectability of our cultural heritage and the future of our country. On cultural exchange and global presence, the Zimbabwean Music Strategy also emphasizes the importance of cultural exchange. We are proud of our rich musical diversity. Each genre, each artist adds to the rich tapestry of our identity. By promoting collaboration, a subject that was being delved into this morning when I walked in, among artists from different backgrounds, we can celebrate our uniqueness while embracing a broader global perspective and even dare to influence the global narratives on music. We envision Zimbabwean music taking its rightful place on the international stage. Our artists have stories to tell, and we must ensure that these stories reach audiences beyond our borders. Together, we can create pathways for our musicians to connect with global markets and audiences, showcasing the richness of our culture to the world. This cannot, in all honesty, be achieved by government alone. It requires more and more of the corporate world, as is unfolding before us in this partnership with Stanbic on sustainable growth of the music industry. As your ministry and as government, we are committed to ensure that there is sustainable growth of the music industry as a subsector of the cultural and creative economy of our nation. This, however, requires collaboration with various stakeholders, including private sector partners, educational institutions, and community organizations. By working together, we can create a robust infrastructure that supports our artists in doing so and generate fair employment across the music sector's value chains. Music promotion, music retailing on digital platforms where remittances of royalties filter to the artists will mean that together we'll be contributing to economic development. As such, Vision 2030 becomes attainable. We'll also focus on fostering creativity in the digital age, ensuring that our artists are equipped with the latest tools, technology, and knowledge to thrive in a rapidly evolving landscape that now has artificial intelligence, that's AI, as exploitable engineering tools. Our music should be part and parcel of the motion picture sound for all genres of film, be it documentaries on animation, action, adventure, comedy, drama, fantasy, horror, musicals, mystery, romance, science fiction, sport, thrillers, African or Western. When it comes to community engagement and inclusivity, all of us as partners seek to grow the music sector. We should make it a must to prioritize continued community engagement and audience growing. Music should be accessible to all. It is essential that we provide platforms for local artists to showcase their talents and engage with their communities in exercises of continuous audience growing. By doing so, we will not only inspire future generations, but also ensure that our cultural heritage is preserved, safeguarded, and roundly celebrated into posterity. As we embark on this journey, I urge each one of us, policymakers, that's on the part of government, artists, industry professionals, the corporates, and supporters as individuals and in our collective to join hands in realizing this vision. While our musicians create, those with money ought to also invest in the necessary infrastructure that will make the consumption of music plausible and enjoyable. As a ministry, we are ensuring that the smart cities that are being developed in the Second Republic have spaces for performances that are user-friendly for those with disabilities to both perform and consume musical services. We also yearn to see more and more festivals with corporate support so that our musicians get the much-needed market and exposure. We need to see the law community assisting the sector to get lucrative contracts, to not only perform, but also to tour locally and internationally, offering their services. All this will happen because we are having engagements that connect us to tap on our varied interests on the music scene. Together, we can cultivate a vibrant music scene that reflects the spirit, resilience, and creativity of our people and that of mankind. It's through engagement and inclusivity that we will build a win-win ecosystem for music business. In closing, it is my sincere wish to implore all of us to embrace and run with the theme of this festival: the music, the city, the people, quote unquote. Let us honor the profound connection between our music and our communities. Together we can create a future where our creative industries flourishes and our artists shine brightly on the local and global stages, be it on virtual or physical platforms. Let us all enjoy this celebration of music and culture. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to take this opportunity, whilst we're still down this avenue, to invite the director of the National Arts Council, Mr. Napoleon Nyani, up front, so he can just give us a brief overview of how the National Arts Council works. What is the role of the National Arts Council, and how, as musicians and artists, can benefit from that, and what are some of the things they're working on that we can plug into? Help me welcome Mr. Napoleon Nyani.
Good morning. Magadizo. Tiripo. Jacaranda Music Festival. These are things that get us excited. I'm an artist myself, and just representing the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, we know that we've got vibrancy in the arts in Zimbabwe when things like this happen. So thank you very much to the Jacaranda Music Festival team for organizing this and for inviting us. And I'd just like to honor the Director for Arts and Culture Promotion in the Ministry of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture, Dr. Sangwanda, who was here representing our acting minister, Honorable Kazembe Kazembe. Also to honor Mkoma Mfunya, Farai Mfunya, who's also here, one of the highly respected minds in the arts and culture sector in Zimbabwe, including other things like administration, governance, etc. So just like to honor. And I also saw the City of Harare Arts team is also here. Just wanted to also mention you and honor you. And then my former boss is also here. Ayati, good to see you. Okay, so let me get into Zandain Governor Bansa, it is my shout outs. Also, I see Caesar Mafirim is also here. Okay, back to business. So the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe is in charge of arts promotion and development and growth. We are here to represent artists to government when it comes to the artists' needs, when it comes to funding of the arts, when it comes to policies around arts development in the country, when it comes to even strategies for different arts sectors. We launched a music strategy in 2022, which has got the objective of growing and professionalizing the music sector in Zimbabwe. We always sing about it and lament about it, that we've got artists in Zimbabwe that are doing amazing things. However, when you compare them to their counterparts in other economies or in other markets, it seems as if we're doing kutambura so. And then you look at their South African counterparts, Nigerian counterparts, or in the Western countries, it seems there's, that picture leaves a lot to be desired. So that's what the music strategy has been trying to push, to raise the bar in terms of the livelihoods of our musicians. Now we're working on a film strategy, which we are launching in November. That's in about a month's time, where we're launching a film strategy that also seeks to professionalize the film sector. There was a lot of film activity in Zimbabwe in the 1980s when we had big movies, big productions, even Anna Denzel Washington coming to Zimbabwe to film TV series and movies. And we would like to bring that glory and surpass it with our film today. We have got a lot more young and not so young black empowered videographers and filmmakers and cinematographers and scriptwriters and producers, etc., than we did in the 80s. In the 80s, it was the complexion of the people that were running film then was a lot fairer. I'm sure you catch my drift. So now we've got a lot more local and young black empowered people who can do it. It is now up to us as the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, also looking into Vision 2030, which looks at transforming Zimbabwe into an upper middle income society. And we see ourselves in that vision with the arts through these spaces like film and like all the other strategies that we've got lined up between now and 2030 to work on one strategy every year or two to at least raise the bar. So with the film strategy, we are hoping we can be able to do that. We can be able to establish a film commission in the country. We can be able to have a film policy. We can be able to do co-productions with other countries. We can be able to attract Hollywood, Bollywood, Nollywood to come and use Zimbabwe as a for sites, etc. Because we've got beautiful places. If you've ever been to Vumba, if you've ever been to Nyanga, to Victoria Falls, to Matobo, to Anagonarejo, we've got lovely places that could be used for big productions, and would like to start working on creating policies that encourage those kinds of productions, so that our film space also rises to be formidable in Africa. We've got templates. We've got the South African template, we've got the Nigerian template of how they did it, how their films are now dominating in many spaces. An African movie. I can bet my bottom dollar. But now we've got a new wave of Korean films. Korean films are also taking over. That was a deliberate strategy and policy that was set in that country to say we need to take over pop music. We need to take over the film space. And K-pop is a big phenomenon at the moment. Korean movies are huge at the moment. And these are templates. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. These are things that we can just walk in there, localize the template, and grow our spaces. So in terms of the arts, these are some of the things that we do in all the different art spaces and the arts disciplines that we have in the country. The National Arts Council covers all from music, which is what we're celebrating today, to film, to dance, to visual arts, which is your sculptures, your paintings, to literary arts, all the way to... So there's so many art spaces that we're in charge of, and spaces that are also not highly recognized in the country, that we're also trying to raise, to prop them up, to encourage them to create societies, encourage them to unite, have one voice, and grow their spaces. Art spaces like fashion was... it was a deliberate effort by the National Arts Council about 5 years ago to encourage people in the fashion sector to unite, create associations, etc. And they've been doing amazing work. And now fashion is, in terms of our art space, is something that we're really excited about, and we're looking to start to now strategize with them and how we can include them in the National Arts Merit Awards, how we can include them in more of our spaces. And there are other art forms like culinary arts that we are also trying to push to grow, with gastronomy, which is one of the major areas that has been championed by our First Lady, which we saw the first UN conference on gastronomy happening in Victoria Falls. So these are all strategic and intentional things that we'll be trying to do to grow the arts in Zimbabwe. I can talk forever on this subject, but let me stop there for now.
Stop there, but stay there, too.
Yes.
We only have him for a few minutes up there, so if you've any question you want to direct towards the Director of the National Arts Council, raise your hand, we'll get a microphone to you. Keep it short, succinct, and ask the question. We're only taking 3 questions. 1, 2, who's the third one?
A very good morning, Mr. Nyani. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I just want to firstly commend the National Arts Council for always being very supportive, not only as an artist, but also as a festival. You mentioned that you definitely... One of the main aims of your music strategy was for us to be better placed globally. Mm-hmm. And when we compare ourselves with our counterparts, sometimes we're becoming our own enemy, and I think you are in a position to assist us. Yeah. Where for me to perform in South Africa, I don't need a work permit, I don't need a visa, I don't need a censorship clearance. It's costing us a lot of money to bring in the international acts that we want to bring in because of these things. What strides are you doing, what strides are you working on to make sure that the ease of doing business as a creative and as a promoter are for the artist and for the promoter?
Thank you for that question. Should I answer, or
yes,
will you wait
yes.
for the 3 questions? Okay. So thank you very much. Great question, and that's something that we're actually seized with at the moment, because our progression in terms of our strategies is once you have a strategy for a sector. So currently we do have a music strategy that was passed, that is done. The next level is policy. So the strategy is for the sector. It's for us, Tawirirana, as musicians and music practitioners and people in business, in music business, we've agreed that these are the 10 pillars that will push us forward. Once we've agreed on those, there are some that we can work with or work on by ourselves, and there are some that need enablement. The ones that need enablement are the ones that then go to policy. So now we then start lobbying our ministry, we start lobbying parliament, we start lobbying government to then create policies that are conducive or that enable the sector. So we have gotten that from promoters and Jacaranda Music Festival. As a festival, you're an arts promoter. And promoters have mentioned the fact that it is very difficult to bring a foreign act to come and perform in Zimbabwe because of those taxes. So I'll mention the 4 departments that are involved in that issue. There is the tax department, which is ZIMRA. There is the immigration department. There is the censorship board. Then there is the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe. I won't mention the police because the police have to be involved in everything for the sake of security. So with those 4 departments, what then happens is, as the Arts Council, we have got the interest of making it easier. We've got the interest of the arts being more consumed in the country. So we want those acts to come in so that more and more Zimbabweans consume arts. But there's the other departments that we have to work with that all fall under different ministries. So that lobbying has started from the National Arts Council's perspective for us to make it easier. Either we are making it just one license, so you're not visiting different offices. You're coming to one-stop shop that then does that one shop or that one office, then communicates with everyone. You shouldn't then have that struggle of going door to door to door to door, which is something that we're working on and we're advocating for. And then the second thing is on the actual expenses and the fees that you have to pay. Part of the reason why it's currently prohibitive is because and something is required in all those offices. But you will know that those kinds of conversations are a lot more difficult to win from an Arts Council perspective and from us being representatives of artists. It's a lot more difficult to win because all those departments, revenue line, budget, like right now the country's budgeting for 2025. When they go to budget, revenue line is also censorship. Clearances. So for us to be able to lobby for them to remove a budget line and either lower their income that they're getting from that budget line or remove it completely is a long conversation. So there is work that is being done to that effect. It may not be as quick as we would want it to be, but as the Arts Council, we're working on our own internal systems that can reduce the burden on artists and on promoters. But so to answer your question, we are working on it, but I just wanted to give you some of the modalities of how things work internally for us to get to that point where we can make an announcement to say either the fees have been cut, or now you just come to one office, or now it's a lot easier because of 1, 2, 3. I hope you're answered.
Right. Thank you so much for coming through, Mr.
Yes.
Nyani.
Thank you.
So my question as an artist is that, firstly, where can we get access to reading the policy that you mentioned? That's one. And then the second thing is, how can we be better placed to properly take advantage of the things that you're putting in place with that strategy?
Thank you. The policies, they are all online. If you go to the National Arts Council website, www.nacz.co.zw, that's our website. If you go onto our website and you go under downloads or resources, you'll be able to see, I think we've got like 25 different policy documents that are there, including the music policy that I was alluding to earlier. And then just online as well, if you just Google like things like the National Arts Council Act, it is there, the 1985 Act that led to the establishment of the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe It is there online, and many other policy documents. So just a simple Google search will help you. In terms of participating and partaking of the benefits that the National Arts Council gives to artists, we've got two obligations. We've got an obligation to artists in general, and then we've got an obligation to registered artists or registered organizations. As the National Arts Council, we register arts organizations, we register arts groups. So just a performing group, we register those as well. We register artists, and we register promoters. Promoters are people who are doing business in the arts, and then associations and groups, etc. Now, when you're registered with the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, there are a few benefits that accrue to you. The benefits that we have for the general public, for non-registered people, is all the work that we do to lobby government. All artists will get those benefits by default. Specifically, we've got trainings that we do in the provinces. We do trainings all year round. We go around the provinces doing trainings. Recently, we were in Masvingo. We had a training with arts practitioners there and associations. And then we were in Bulawayo in August. And then we've also done Manicaland, we're in Mtare. And then we're also going to Gweru we're in October already, this month. And then we still also have a training in Vic Falls. So every quarter, we've got 3 or 4 provinces that we go and we do trainings. These are capacity building trainings. We train on the business of art. We train on your branding as an artist. We train on how to, even apply for grants, how to get funding, how to professionalize your language, creating proposals, etc., etc., etc. We try and capacitate artists in that regard. But when you're a registered organization with the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, there are a few more benefits that will then accrue to you. We've got a duty-free facility if you want to bring recording equipment. So this is for music recording equipment or for video recording equipment. So we've got a duty-free facility for that if you're a registered arts organization with the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe. That one is not for everybody. You have to, because when you register with us, we do due diligence to prove that you are really an arts organization. Because once you've got free things, you know what happens with our people. Free. So by the time you are registered with the Arts Council, you will not be asked any other questions, whether the port of entry, equipment or anything. The Arts Council letter is enough because they know we've already done our due diligence with that. We also help, with visa applications if you want to travel to another country to do work or whatever. If you're a registered Arts Council organization, we give you letters that will help you to get that visa application. And we are quite a respected organization when it comes to our relation with foreign embassies, etc. So it makes it a lot easier.
Good morning, Mr. Nyani. Thank you for coming through. The question that I have, we've had a lot of discussion pertaining to global collaboration. What I would like to know is, what is the Arts Council's strategy around promoting and championing local collaboration across the various creative disciplines?
Wow, that's a good question. When it comes to how people work locally and promotion of increased business locally within the arts space, our main efforts are around publicity and also in terms of our trainings. That's where some of that work comes in. What we've been trying to do when we are mentioning the issue of professionalizing the sector and approaching art as a business, in business it's always important to have collaboration. There is no business that operates in a vacuum. So the moment you realize that as a business, we're operating in a space where we have to cohabit with other businesses and we have to create synergies where we also benefit from all these businesses, it will start to make sense to you that that person who's, for example, as an artist, you're getting makeup done for a photo shoot. That's a business that you are interfacing with. So what we now try to do is to conscientize the artist that now that makeup artist is not your slave. You're not there just telling them, you messed up my face, or you show up for the makeup and get 2 hours late, and things like that, where the artist starts to feel like maybe they are the boss of everyone. And no. Now we're saying, no, you need to operate at a level where you realize that all these people that you're interfacing with, whether it's makeup, whether it's security, whether it's people that are supplying you with water during your work, that those are all businesses. So by conscientizing them in that way, I believe we are promoting collaboration and appreciation that this is a business, and I may even need to be more inclined to even giving them business, referrals and all of that. For me, that's raising the creative economy if we're doing that. In terms of publicity, we are working to create more, create more channels of communication where we can disseminate this information that I was just talking about. We just recently revamped our website. So if you go to nacz.co.zw, that is a new website that we launched on the 1st of September. The number one objective of that website was to give artists a platform for them to be seen and be heard through our newsletter, which we're launching next week. We've linked our website to a newsletter that comes out every month, which will show the activity that is happening in the sector and also promote those that have got things that they're doing in the sector.
Wait, Mr. Nyani.
Yes.
We'll go on forever. We really need to get into the next segment. So you need to round up in the next 1 minute. I'm giving you 1 minute. Yes.
Yes, sir. Apologies. It's
No. You're here for that. So we need you to do that.
Yes. So we've got a new website. We have got we're creating more in terms of even just printed material that we can distribute to artists. My belief is by knowing the National Arts Council, by interacting with the National Arts Council, and by attending National Arts Council workshops and trainings, inevitably will make artists more professional, and it will lead to more collaboration.
Before we let you sit, I think it's a good idea because clearly there's so much to benefit from the National Arts Council. Of course, with permission of the festival manager, wouldn't it be great if we could have a desk for the National Arts Council for people to actually interact with tomorrow, so that artists can actually come through, ask questions, get resources, see if they want to register, get some of the forms and all that. I think it would be a great synergy, especially for people in this room who've shown the commitment that they want to be part of this. Can we put you on the spot as the director for you to do that for us tomorrow?
We need to take a vote. By show of hands, how many people would like that desk to... Okay, done.
Oh, there we go.
Done. We'll have it tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the National Arts Council of Zimbabwe, Mr. Napoleon Nyani. Come on, help him as he sits. The goal of this conference is so that you can get the help you need. So whenever we have opportunity to engage with people like him who we don't engage with any other day, we need to take advantage of that. Now for the next session, I'm super excited about it because I'm so passionate about it. It's about how we can safeguard cultural heritage, specifically looking at preserving music traditions in a globalized world. Strategies for the creative industry and how we can preserve what we have, since the world is now a global space. Now, to help me in that conversation, unfortunately, James Sakala from Zambia couldn't be here. There were issues with his travel. So we're going to make it a fireside chat with the one, the only, Mukoma Farai Mfunya. Help him as he comes up stage. Now, for the sake of this conversation, because we're supposed to have a panel, we're going to have a conversation with him. Now, because he's such a seasoned player within the cultural space, We're just going to have a conversation with him and also allow him to speak from a very special place with the work that he's doing now, the work that he's done over the years, and hopefully tap into something really special on how we can safeguard cultural heritage, especially in a global environment. Vamvunya, how are you doing?
Yes. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm enthralled because it's you so profound. Arnold Chirimira. And thanks very much to the Stanbic Jacaranda Music Festival, Director Tariro, with the guitar as well. And also thank you very much for the business conference for inviting me. And thanks very much for everyone who is taking time this morning today to come here and confer Kurodzana Pfungwa.
Now, Vampunya, it would be so amiss for us to just start this conversation without taking a deep dive, because you've been here for a long time in the cultural space, contributing as a player and as a consumer as well of our culture, and you're a big advocate for that. It would be so amiss if I don't ask you this question to start. Where are we right now? The world is becoming a global village, and it seems like a lot of our culture is being swallowed up in the globalization. I could be wrong, but where do we find ourselves culturally as a people right now, as an industry?
Well, once again, thank you very much. And as I start, you don't want to think global without coming back home and without acknowledging the acting permanent secretary. I think the PEM secretary returned, but also the director in the Ministry of Sport, Arts, Culture and Recreation, Director Bigi Samwanda Soko, who is a person who anchors us in these matters back home and loves to say, before you think global, you need to also address who you are here first. And also, I'd like to acknowledge the Director of National Arts Council, Napoleon Nyani, who was very articulate in making sense of the area that I'll talk to you about a little bit more, which is the area called the governance of culture. And sometimes when we are very excited when one of the youngsters at the back there raised the question of should one think global first, collaborations before thinking support for local collaborations. And acknowledging once again the very articulate Farai Bayai Ngube, who was talking about the things and the information you need to know about how the global governance of culture works, but hopefully locating it back home. Ndikataura nechivanhu ndikati governance of culture, vamwe hada kutaura zvepolitics, right? But the reality of the world is that the global industry of the creative economy sector, and then we can talk about music specifically. The contribution of the global south in this so-called globalized world is less than 4%. Tsoro yacho yakarongwa zvekuti hatingofanira kungoijambira ndikataura nechishona kungoti global. Kana mukanzwa president wekuamerica yakuti no, America chaiyo, America ngaitange, America first before global. So these are deep questions of a conference, and I was talking to Tari Uchaniwa and Chiti. Organizing half a day yekurodzana pfungwa is a challenge in itself. Organizing one day packed in with different subject areas of culture and creative industry and sector initiatives, and also globalized governance of culture, and then day two is such a task for anyone to have the mental capacity to absorb it all. So congratulations for attempting to do that. My recommendation is that maybe for next year, Jacaranda may need to narrow it a little bit, because what you asked me here is, first of all, what is culture? And therefore, what is heritage within culture? So that is so profound. Then I ask you, what are you transmitting into the next generation? Muganzi, ndangandine conference ndandina so profound. Ndutaurira vana vangu into the next generation. So when I saw him, I said Arnold. But ndikati Arnold, ndakuti zita rakabva kupiri, is it Irish, is it Gaelic, is it English or Scottish? Ndati chirimira. Then we're starting to localize the identity of Arnold before he became so profound. So culture, then heritage, is really about iwe ndiwani. And then when I acknowledged Dr. Samwanda Ndegati Soko, then Samwanda, right? Then we are talking about the chieftainships, for example, of Honde Valley. You have localized the identity of the person you're talking to back home before you even think about skills of discoverability or skills about doing a profile on some technological tool. You can copy and paste that. But as long as you do not know who you are, you've got to go back and start perhaps there. I'm not saying all the people we are conferring with here do not know who they are. I'm just suggesting that before you go out and want to collaborate and push yourself out there into the wolves of the global governance of culture or the global music industry, because it's been done before. Bundu Boys collaborated. What happened to the Bundu Boys? Recently, one of the last surviving members died. Dumi Maraire, Efat Mujuru, collaborated with the West Coast Americans. What happened to Mbira? Who controls the global business of Mbira globally? You understand? So I'm not saying that you do not know who you are. I'm just saying that it is important to know who you are and what culture you belong to before you embark on this journey of global collaborations, right? Because some people are choosing. America, if Trump wins, is choosing to say America first. Before matitaurira zveshe zvaglobalization yakudzi America ngaichimbodzokera kunoti tiri vanani, right? And that is not an easy question to answer. You can see that I'm skirting around answering it directly.
Yeah.
But if you want to ask me, Dr. Samwanda, what is culture? Munu chi. And therefore, if Munu is the one who produces the arts, which are an expression of the chosen culture, of the individual in terms of how they see the world, before you package it, and then you transmit it, and then you collaborate, isn't there a risk that what you are carrying and transmitting could be appropriated by the gatekeepers of these pathways and avenues of global music industry? Maybe perhaps the person to talk to about that is someone like Mukomba, and see how Mukomba is annually navigating this space and collaborating in these festivals around the world currently. But they are not the first ones. Like I said, Bundu Boys tried it. Professor Zindi will write about the collaborations with the Jamaican reggae music Sunsplash in the 1980 when they convinced Bob Marley to pay for his own group and equipment to come and celebrate with our independence here in Zimbabwe.
Vamfunya, can you just go back to the place where when you were talking about the global governance of culture, what that really means? Because you sort of like skated around it, but you really didn't go in depth. What do you mean when you say the governance of culture? What does it entail, and what does it mean for us? What do we ought to be aware of?
Yeah, thanks very much. You can see that I'm old school. Soro Jena is when your hairs start going gray. Then you know kuti the youngsters, and some of them more articulated, energetic than myself, and Napoleon now. You can see that your time is now time to hand over and do other things, right? If I hold this book and say that Dr. Samwanda will obviously, because he's a focal person in this country for interfacing with UNESCO, this report, which is called Reshaping Policies for Creativity Globally, captures the kinds of strategies netsoro dziri kutambwa in organizing culture. And many people will not know that, right? And because I'm old school and someone did ask, and Napoleon will forgive me, someone said, where do I find the music strategy? Because he articulated and actually Dr. Samanda's keynote speech also broke down what is contained in the music strategy. But this document is saying to you all, ndotsoro dze music dziri kutambwa muZimbabwe. And I take it from the question that majority of you have not had sight of this. Now, the director, Napoleon, said you can go to Google and look for yourself. But I like what you did by challenging Napoleon, and he was very receptive to that. Kuti mangwana kana vanhu vasina kuzviziva chiuyowe kane munhu wacho kuNational Arts Council agara apa taure kuti tsoro dzacho dzii. Because this is secret, guy. This is a published, and it was actually launched by the minister, Dr. Samwanda, here last year or the year before. Yeah. Now, what Napoleon also said, which is very important, is that imimi, if you embraced Tsoroidzi, which means the best plan for music contained in 11 pillars, if you are serious about what specific areas you want, say the one that was proposed in Tariro there about music visa exemptions, right? And I know National Arts Council recently signed an MOU with South African National Arts Council. Perhaps you are now going towards the steps of abolishing requirements for visas between South Africa, or there's no visa requirement, but other things that may be collaborative. But what he then said is that if you are organized enough as associations, as artists, as groups, and so forth, pick an area that you can lobby. Zvinoitwa nemacomrades vekumaminda kaizvi komunoti vakazopirwe eminda vaita noise kavana chinotimba vachinanana hunzvi vachiri vapenda vachiita noise, and then vaita noise for influencer policy that transforms the allocation of resources. It's not a mistake. Who is doing that for music? Who is doing that for the arts? But what Napoleon then said is that once Mona Tsoro zirgunzi ngadzitambwe in these 11 areas, we can then have policies and measures, but we need you to register and then have the numbers, and then you confront Dr. Samanda. You understand? So this is at local level, and this is just one area, Yetsoro, music. And then he said there's going to be film, visual arts, food, culinary arts, and so forth. This is just one sector of the arts. And the arts themselves are a totality of all these forms of expression of your culture. Fashion, music, dance, film, animation, and so forth. Once you look at all these things, you then are saying, what are the resources? What are the directives, the guidelines that govern kurongwa kwetsoroi? Otherwise, it would be mazhake. And it, ndosaka dzimwe timi dzebhora dzisizodyiwa nekuti hakuna governance iri kunyatsooneka. Musazondirova fange vemani yu kunzi chiko chiri kunyatsotambwa tsoro yacho ndeyechi yakasiyana nesusu veArsenal kana kuti veDynamos. You understand what I mean? It's tsoro guys. And its sorrow is based on understanding who you are, your identity, and your intention, and the context within you live in. And whoever, and I'm key at sorrow, whether it's Farangwe with the British Council or Melissa Paulsen, American Embassy, or myself, we are called gatekeepers. We've got to be challenged. Right? Because gatekeepers can be benevolent, but gatekeepers can also be dangerous. Because the global pathway. So if you come to this gatekeeper, we can open a gate towards prosperity. If you open another gate, you go to a gate towards the subjugation of your culture and sense of individual being. So how do you tell people go to Itaima, package yourselves and sell yourselves out there into the wide world web? Because they could be captured by the vouchers of the internet. abused, appropriated. Now, that whole area of the normative, global allocation, planning of resources, of infrastructure, of systems and processes is what you call governance of culture. Who is sitting at the table of the governance of culture? That's where some people have to assign individuals from different countries to sit on these particular platforms. And this is an area I was invited 5 years ago to sit on the UNESCO expert facility, because from this, which is Zimbabwe, to this, which is now the global shaping of cultural policies, that is a big, big difference. And this is what I think this conference is giving us the opportunity to do. That even though technology has allowed us to carry on our phones libraries that used to be inaccessible, but it seems that despite the fact that we are carrying huge amounts of knowledge, we are still ignorant to some extent about the basics of the knowledge. And that is, I think, an invitation to what you are saying I should talk about when you talk about culture. And perhaps maybe throw it out there in the next 2 days for you. Industry, zvekuita mari kaizvi, nesector, zvekuita mari makaungana musector, is not the only pathway for people to express themselves and assert themselves. Because there are some people anadambudzo marechera kaya hangasina basa nemari kavaya. Saka unomisa muindustry dambudzo marechera. Ukamuisa mubox omisira ana Julius Ngono. Unomisa muindustry womuti wamusector register National Arts Council. I can even say go to Murewa and talk to Tafuma Gutsa now to your register. Napoleon would have a pleasant afternoon with Tafuma Gutsa. And I'm sure on your way to rehabilitating the Murewa Cultural Center, pop down and spend a day with Tafuma. Very wise in terms of understanding that. So culture ine zvinzviri apa kap ine ku UNESCO nematsoro idzi vanoiti the duality of culture. On the one hand, kune side reculture risinei nemari. Soko samwanda muri wadere uku kuHonde Valley. Moyo chirandu ndimika makada kunoinventa manera ekuenda kunotora necklace mwedzi mchida kupa princess wevaira moyo, right? Hazvinei neindustry, hazvinei neculture, right? But they are important in anchoring you on who you are. So if you say, I am American, the South Koreans and say K-pop. I am Korean, I'm South Korean. What does that mean? Before you then have the K-pop culture, K-pop industry, which is now $1 billion industry, creating memes. Yekuti vana vedu hivi nekuAfrica vada kuita tumalooks tuyatu fair skinned tumaningiri tuwafanira these South Koreans. What does that mean? Izvozvo manje ndo governance of culture, because he is correct to have raised it, because the South Koreans had a plan, a strategy 40, 50 years ago to dominate the globe by shifting our perception of South Koreans and the identity and making our children want to be like them. So what you are seeing now is that African children perhaps not wanting to be like white Caucasians, interesting enough wanting to be like South Asians or South Koreans. That's crazy, right? And don't even start me if I then come in and say, Dr. Guramatunu, come and say what is being African. Because you then tell you what we are losing by that, right? So governance of culture is this big global game that actually determines what game you're playing.
So then how do we think about that global governance of culture within the context of the music business that we are navigating or trying to navigate as musicians, as artists who are then trying to make these careers?
Well, and this is very interesting because my job is not to get into the very carefully thought about 2 days if you go through it, because it's got music festivals, it's got properties, it's got intellectual property. So I'll leave that to them. But the important things for us to share here is what Dr. Samwanda and then Mr. Nyani started talking about. So in Zimbabwe, who you are as a person, as a country, is determined in the Constitution of Zimbabwe and in the preamble of the constitutions, which assert the importance of culture and who you are within this culture. Ndirimbori ani. And for those who want to explore this further, it was a critical point with the younger countries, Tunyika, Tukazuya, Mazwano, South Africa, South Sudan, and so forth, where Thabo Mbeki is saying, I am African because. Then Thabo Mbeki then started saying, Nzizi dzinofamba, makomo andinoona, matama andinodya. Vanhu vakati, President of South Africa, what is he talking about? But he was saying, he was painting a picture in your minds when you're sleeping, and you say, who am I? Where do you locate yourself? And then when your brain goes into the subconscious mind, it takes you into a world where you either can dream yourself as a fairer-skinned South Korean, or lighter-skinned, blue-eyed Scandinavian, or fair, long hair Indian woman wearing Mariana and so forth, right? Or you dream, as Thabo Mbeki was saying, who am I as an African, and you locate yourself kumberengwa kudotito kana kuti kuzhishavane and so forth. And that is the beginning of the distinctiveness of what permeates through the creative process, and which we can then see through your music. And then have an excitable Monomukundu therefore say to you and challenge you, if you want to copy Amapiano, if you want to copy, whether it's Zim dancehall, it's still Jamaican, right? In essence, right? It's the dancehall music that emanated from Jamaica. Whether you're Winky D, when you go to the Jamaican Sunsplash, you are just a little dot somewhere in a Nitsoro Jamaican dancehall. Kwa Jakatangira kumusha. You know what I'm saying? So the connectedness of before you sell yourself into collaborative global partnerships is what happens in your worldview, in your mind. And that therefore distinguishes you kutukatindoda hip-hop artist, tofara chitawa pakayani hip-hop artist and so forth. Tikaenda ku workshop, you got to say, then try and go to the south side of LA, try and go to Brooklyn, or try to go to Harlem, and you say, Dashiko Kandini hip-hop artist of Zimbabwe, and I've got something that is distinctive to hip-hop. The American subculture of the African Americans will probably look at you and say, but you can actually turn the things around if you had this knowledge I'm talking about to say to African Americans. 600 years earlier, you were actually in Mberengwa yourselves before you are now in America, right? And that is the connectedness that we are saying, Guti. We want to ground or help ground you, especially the younger ones here. Because for the festival organizers and the conference organizers, I was asking the question, where are the older musicians? Where are the older people here? Because sometimes with us gatekeepers, we will then narrow you and say, oh, this project is only wanting 18 to 35-year-olds. Koma chesuka. Kosoro jena kaita seni. Ko Kristimbi wembira. Ko mbira zenarira. Varukupiko muno. So there is a problem that you have Africans who have a cognitive dissonance. Kuti vanhu makuru vanofanira kuita now in terms of continuity of knowledge are not there. Then they are thrown into the global arena. What happens? What happens when you have the cognitive dissonance, which means that you are alienated from your culture, right? When you're alienated from your culture, when Bob Marley, I was 16 years old in Ndichukura Kumbara when I went to the concert, Bob Marley. And Bob Marley was talking about, for those who before Nawingi Dean and a dance, was talking about reggae as a jekiseni to cure the disease of the mind, the subjugation of the colonial mind, the enslaved mind. And Bob Marley was saying, a man without the knowledge of their roots, their heritage, their culture is like a cabbage in a society, easily uprooted. So if this conference does not address that and bring us gatekeepers back to explain, murukutendesa into the global arena, tisina roots fange cabbage. Are you serious? Are you going to protect us? Are you going to throw us out into the sharks? But if you are doing what you're doing now, which is very important, to include knowledge, culture, and identity and heritage, then we're talking. But it is, and it will require all of you, especially the young ones, to go out and seek for mentors of music and culture to collaborate with. Hence, the important question is, where are the local collaborations? You understand what I mean? Because those are the elders who will inspire your music by anchoring and rooting it into who you are, so that you're not easily swayed within the global, murky world of wolves, if I may speak frankly about it.
Just for context, when I had a conversation with Vamfunya and we were discussing this, I told him, speak freely and speak as boldly as you can, because that's what we need from you. And he's doing exactly that. Isn't this amazing? Now, we want to open the floor for questions. If you have any question that you want to direct Kuna Vamfunya, please feel free to raise your hand, keep that question, keep it very succinct and to the point. And just ask, if you can, just ask one question. Don't try to ask many questions. And also, don't greet him again. We've already greeted him. And don't thank him again. We'll thank him at the end. All right? Just ask your question. Say your name and just ask your question. Is that okay? Yes. So whilst we wait for you to ask questions, we're just going to allow him to continue on the train of thought he was on to lead us to a place where we can ask questions.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Coming specifically now to music and then linking it up with what Napoleon was talking about and why it's extremely important. There is a plan with the National Arts Council written for you to see. And the plan has got, say, 11 pathways. Locate yourself in there and invest in what it actually means. Because Napoleon and his team will want to say, okay, there are enough people who want funding, intellectual property, who want collaborations, who want protection of heritage as an area of immediate and priority policy making. So that he can then go to Dr. Samanda and say, please help us ensure that this happens. I will disagree slightly with Napoleon in terms of the political gymnastics that one can play to achieve results, but I'm not going to prescribe how radical Napoleon can be in his first year as director of the National Arts Council. But Dr. Samanda and I know that when there are officials in government who have got the will and clarity to change these things very quickly, they can. Dr. Jonathan Moyo, despite what you think of him or not think of him, woke up one day and had a statutory instrument to say what you talked about. Musicians and artists can import equipment duty-free if you're registered with the National Arts Council. And then instructed Zimra to implement that. Didn't wait for people. The other thing he also did, which is significant and perhaps contributed to the rise of the new genres of music in this country, was he said, from tomorrow onwards, 75% of what is played on the broadcasting platforms, which are the public broadcasting platforms, not Itai Takaendi's platform, which is private, but the public broadcasters platform, because we are the people who pay taxes for ZBC. They should play 75% local content. But do you know what happened? He enforced it. And country music and European ballads and so forth. But what it did is that it allowed people who never thought they would hear themselves on radio, national radio, to start innovating and be propelled to produce so that they could be heard. And then it created maybe partly the emergence of new types of music. It can be done with the right numbers of people rallying behind a strategy and a plan and the way it's articulated by individuals. My submission is that when you invited, us to come and have these 10-minute things, 10-minute chats with officials, it's extremely important what you did there. And I do hope that many will clamor around Dr. Samwanda and Napoleon Nyane. Because sometimes we forget, we think coming to the Culture Fund or coming to the British Council is the most important strategy towards achieving your individual strategy as an artist. And forget that perhaps going to the National Arts Council and to Dr. Samwanda's office is the more direct and visible way. It may not be money, but it could be other currency assets that you can leverage on. Tax exemption, the ability to co-produce with a national broadcaster and therefore non-locally. And when you go internationally and you say, I'm a recipient of the NAMA Awards, it's a national award. That carries more weight. Because we are here in the presence of someone from Zimbabwe who has been awarded the highest honor in their own country. Do you understand what I mean? And that is something that we can share. So these are specifically, I suppose, areas to think about in the next 2 days.
I remember Vampunye Vachinditsura this one time at the Namas. Do you remember? I'd just been nominated for a Nama, I think in 2022, and I wasn't taking it seriously because I felt like, I'm too cool for this. Wanditsura, this is what he told me. You just being a nominee is so important because it's the highest honor you can ever have in your country. So if they're saying you are nominated, it means you're part of the few who are doing it exceptionally in your country. Take that with pride.
Correct. And coming back to global governance of culture, remember, if I want to translate it into local language, matare guy. So matare ne dare depends kuti ndiani ari padare pacho. So matare anozoenda kunana UNESCO matare enyika. And in this country, people like Dr. Samwanda panonzi ku Paris annually. Chiuyai as representatives of your country, ndo vanoenda ana Dr. Samwanda. Once ikoko, who was nominated by your country and who was awarded by your country kuti uyu kumbira kana kudanso kana kuti ku visual arts or sculpture ndiani voti ndi uyu. Fange zvakaita fange in terms of heritage preservation, if you didn't know that Mbira and Jerusalem Mbende dance have been inscribed by UNESCO as an intangible heritage for mankind to preserve. Mbira ne Jerusalem Mbende. Isusu kwa mreo tikaenda tichiona cha kudugudu kaka. Tocha no, it's about gyration and sexual gyration ajinabasa. But someone in Paris, Matareugo, have said, kuti chini ichi, chainzi Mbende, and then during the watch, vavachinja, vakachicha kunzi Jerusalem, so that they could fool the Rhodesian intelligence. Kuzi muruko mbotambe chigwe, oti turukutamba Jerusalem, ndezve church. Yet Mbende was a platform that allowed a physical liberation and freedom. Before Jema freedom, rights, and so forth, the gender, even rights are right. Mukadzi aitamba kuti kana ndakuda kurara nemurume ni handisi kumbokuhwanda ndikutopamberi penyu kudugudu kaka freely, and then you would be allowed in that space to murmur what you don't like about your husband or your community. Hey, murume wanga agone hey, murume wangu akadai, mamuona kandamunza panapa, hey, cha kudu kwa. That locates you now into a context tinayo kunoko. You understand? And therefore, pamatara, when then they say, iwewe you've been nominated, vokuti chi chacho chiri represent culture yenyu, then you state it. So Jerusalem, Mbende, or Mbira. Then we tell who are the people who have been listed as the people we go to or we can write in these reports. Mbira dzenarira. Kana kuti Mashoko, the late. The late Mashoko, apparently, for those who do not know, Mashoko, the Mbira player, was the first black person to appear in a Western movie in the 40s, 50s. Black African Munomuka. But those things are important. But we need to be aware that if we do not honor what is acknowledged by our own, how do you expect to be Jaita Mskana Akabia Grammys of South Africa, that beautiful young lady, Anonzani, Tyler? I'm very happy for her. But in Rudaku Mutambuno, Sango, Mananani, South Africa, so that when I'm talking about Sangom, I'm talking about the medicinal, pharmaceutical, or side of our knowledge of healing. Not to go to Jans in the Chiro in Jimani and so forth, right? Even in the Chiro, it's a crafty.
Look, we're going to send it out.
Harry Potter.
We are taking questions. We are taking questions. We've got a question over here. Do we have any? So we've got 3 questions lined up. 4 actually. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to take them in quick succession. So you can ask your question. Then, Vamfunya, please be. Yeah. All right.
Pardon me, Asan. This kutenda asimaita yenyu. Vamfunya, I so happened to be part of a delegation of 14 Zimbabweans who went to Italy in 2015 to showcase Zimbabwean traditional dances. We're talking of pure Zim traditional dances, including Mbende, Yoyo, Mbakumba, Dine, Jerusalem, and Ischikicha. And we performed at a World Expo. I'm talking of every country was represented. And people were coming through in numbers just to be at the Zim stand to see the goodness of how raw Zimbabwean talent is. Now, going back to Tami Atava Isnes, with youngsters, with Amatuke, with the Gen Zs, people, when you talk of Zimbabwean music, they will say Inoboa. They will say these other genres. Talk of identity Yamataura. My question is, Zoitwa say, Kutiti Kwatakaba. I'm working currently, I'm on vacation. I came through. I'm working in America.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
What is the question?
The question is, how then can we maintain our identity as Zimbabweans? Tisinganyari. There are people who are changing their names. That's the question that I'm asking. Thank you, so profound.
Right. When you go to Italy and represent a specific area of Zimbabwe culture, you become an ambassador. Ambassador Asia knows ambassador in Zenzava, ambassador to France, Spain, and Portugal. Ambassador is you. And your deportment, or how you carry yourself with the weight of the representation of the generations before you in Bakumba depends on you on that particular moment. You're not the first one. Albert Schmeitzer performed for the 500th anniversary of Mozart in Austria or some 10 years ago. Why did they choose Mbira to play along the violin? Because varukuziva kuti kwavo vane violin that you need to invest in and protect into the cathedrals or the theaters of opera in Europe. juxtapose that with Mbira. What are we doing with it? This is why the Mrewa Cultural Center, for example, under Napoleon, is so important to revive. It's important because shifting in culture is inevitable. So if you say so profound, aluza culture, you'll be looking at it superficially. Because it is a mask, it's a veneer. Because inina ino ndosakanda muti, if you agavisa voiri raso profound, pana Arnold, agavisa voiri ra Arnold, ana pana chirimira. Agavisa voiri ra chirimira, pana namoyo chirandu. These layers like an onion must always be with all of us. Whether you forget that they are there, it's up to you. But if we peel, we'll find them. That's why tichibvinza mubvunzo. Mamuka says moyo. Magasimba ere moyo and so forth. We are looking at which layer of your identity am I talking to has pitched up in front of me. Ndrukutaura newe ere because kungoda mari yekuworkshop yema-Americans yema-British yeculture fund kana ichi wobva wadzokera. Kana kuti ndiri kutaura newe at a deeper level, which is your subconscious, where the innovation of the music that can be distinctive globally will come from. And this is where Mono Mkundo anobva anyanzonakidzwaka. Because Mondo anakacha azviite. Then Thomas Mapfumo will say, inini chete. Thomas, if you write what Percy Jomoya has, I don't know whether I brought a book, which is a fantastic history for those who want to know when the three sevens clash. Because Thomas Mapfumo would have been the first musician to introduce Western music instruments into Mbiranditi. Does that make him less African? No. But what was he doing? He was using Western music, art form, and instruments to propagate, preserve, and celebrate Mbira. So you ukanzwa chimrenga music wofunga kuti amusisina Mbira unenge waakuonoka zvinhu zvisina kudzama. So there are different ways of maintaining your identity as an African and put on my veneer, like Ezhnezha nditi, is the veneer of language I'm using. But the veneer of language does not make me any more intelligent because I'm speaking English more articulately than Ambuya Varekwa of Ukeni in south of Chiredzi. It's just a veneer. Because I'm wearing these clothes which are Western, doesn't mean it's taking away my Africanness. So where does Africanness reside? Because change in clothes, in hairstyles are fades of fashion. The identification of who you are resides somewhere else. So even in our education system, when people are saying, government yakuboa manje, education 5.0, heritage, focus, they are trying to manufacture a new generation of Africans. Kumanufacture chaiko, kutobikwa. Who are initially anchored kumbunyudzwa mumvura ya Africanness wazobuda mumvura yo. You can say I'm profound, you can say I'm wearing Mariana wigs, you can say I'm wearing these kinds of clothes, but your identity resides in somewhere that cannot be taken away from you. It's up to you now to locate it.
Now, we're going to get, how many more questions do you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you mentioned that in schools they're already teaching the kids that are coming up heritage. But what about for some of us who are already artists who never got that opportunity? Are there spaces for us to actually learn more and grow in issues relating to cultural governance?
So the framing of your question presupposes when knowledge is acquired. School, Western-oriented school, inherited from colonial Rhodesia is one way of acquiring knowledge. Knowledge accusation happens in other spaces where there is a belief system, where there is a truthfulness in it, and that is not necessarily confined in a school in the Western sense. This is why ndataura ndichiti nini, where are the elders of music in this conference? Because those elders of music in this conference would actually have brought in dimensions of music knowledge which you can still acquire even if you have left school. But what is being done with the syllabus is for those who can still go through the school system is like a conveyor belt. It's the most efficient way of putting the maximum number of young citizens into a foroma to manufacture them in a way you want, right? But for those who did not, you don't have to go to school to be successful. We know that. And if I use the language that you may know, people like Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and so forth dropped out of school. Or Princess Diana didn't go to college. These people don't necessarily go through college or school. But Oprah Winfrey, who did not go to college, will tell you that if you don't do that, which is the easiest way, especially when you're young, you've got to learn the knowledge yourself outside the school system. And where does that knowledge reside? Kumba kwenyu, in your community, in the elders, Vanasoro Jena, who should also be here. So that there is a continuity of the transmission of knowledge that makes you distinctively African. But you can also choose not to want to be distinctively African. But in music, and I agree with Monom Kundu on this one, that's his thesis, Monom Kundu, ongoing, is it's very difficult for an African, especially Zimbabwean musician, to make it in hip-hop, R&B, jazz. It's globally, I'm talking about global success. We should not fool ourselves. Because inema players ayo, nema dzinza ayo. Like if you say to me, what is one of your favorite music CDs in jazz, I'll say Miles Davis, right? But ndotera vanarita jazz, like the jazz festival 2 weeks ago at Allianz, kutoshika kuna na Miles, John Coltrane and so on. Maybe Comfort Mbofana, my brother, Comfort would sit and say, okay, let's go deep in Prudence, and your friend Comfort. Kunyazotaura nondo kuti ultra jazz hippie. But if you say kuti kuna sekuru gora kana mashoko mbira, no one in the world can challenge them. Therefore, why is it not that the center and the masters of mbira music globally are known to be here and people do pilgrimage and migrate here kuti vazonzwa the global custodians of mbira, because that is one thing they cannot take away from you. Do you understand what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, help me thank the incredible, ever so amazing Farai Mfunya. Jim Koma, come on. Show him some love. Vamfunya has got a lot of resources that he mentioned throughout his presentation. We will try to put these on our social media and also to just give you some of the titles throughout when we go for a break so that you can get some of these books. He's still around, I'm sure? Yes, he's still around, so you can come through, take a picture, and see some of these titles and how you can make use of them and plug in and be part of this great initiative. Can we show him some love one more time as he... Vamfunya, I'm sure you've got some parting words or something. We're fast running out of time, but I'm sure I can give you just about 2 minutes to just give us some parting words.
I think it's just words of encouragement to really use these 2 days for those who can to look at the different areas. I don't think you have to tap into everything. You just look for what speaks to you. And then the other things you can always research on them or you can engage with them. But my encouragement is keep connected to knowledge and different kinds of knowledge, and look at the people who are talking about Africa-specific knowledge systems. You had Uto Nyati stand up and be introduced by the Americans. I'm friends with his father, Patisa Nyati, who is one of the most articulate in describing the Africa worldview and what it means. And Patisa Nyati's theories even go further to talk about the spirituality of Africanness and its dynamism. So we've never been constant. Don't be afraid. This is what an African looks like today. Nyakasika Nehanda was an African 100 years ago, dressed in a certain way, looked a certain way. And your kids are going to be different in terms of how they look in fashion, hairstyles, food they eat.
Them, you know exactly what I mean. But I'm also aware that you've been sitting for a long time. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just grab a drink, go for a bathroom break, stretch your legs and all that. Maybe 3 minutes and just shake it off a bit. Then we come through for another session that is the evolving creative landscape, where we're looking at innovative approaches to fan engagement, artist development, and audience growth. Our panelists are going to be Koni Mazani, who's Felinandi's manager, and of course Mendy Musuku, who's from Munch and Sip. You got 3 minutes to stretch, grab a beverage, drink, refresh yourself and all that. Then when we come back, we get straight into that session.
Be
Right now, get ready for it shall spring the edges. The end, the end, the end, the end, the end, the end. Bano katsira, tsira mugwenga. Nihova musango, kusama tenga the edges. The end, the end, the end, the end, the end, the end. Bano katsira, tsira mugwenga. Musango, Sama Tenga, the edges. The end, the end, the end, the end, the end, the end. Koshwani, Isido Zamando. Linganagani, Ose, Wejulayo, Uloches. Muye, 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 muye. Kangelani, Ngenza, Omucha. Gathesi uyavela ngokuphangisa kale kuboni na uye 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 bano katsira tsira mugwenga Yehova musango kusama tenga dientes the end the end the end the end the end the end bano katsira tsira mugwenga Sambo, Samatenga, the edges, the end, the end, the end.
Hello, 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 hello. If we could have everyone back in the building, is that okay? Everyone who's outside, can we just have you back in the building? Can you take your places? If you're outside, may we have you inside. We just need to do something real quick before we go for lunch. If you're inside, may we just have you just take your places real quick. We want to do something quickly. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Just take your place. I promise you this is going to be amazing. All those who are speaking to Vamfunya, can I just have you take your places real quick? You're going to have him just now. Just now. Can we take our places real quick? Can we take our places real quick? We want to do a quick exercise before we go for lunch to help with some of what's currently happening. The guys at the back who are standing by the door, may I please just have you take your places real quick? We just want to have a quick session. I want to show you something real quick, okay? So, we want to do what is called a speed networking session, right? But speed networking means that you only have 2 minutes to talk to someone. Now, one of the hardest things for sessions like these is not knowing who's in the room. So I noticed that if you just say, go out and stretch your legs and do this, everyone is going to go out and people are going to talk to people they know. Right? So let me help you identify who's in the room. Right? This is Ayati. Ayati is a radio personality with Star FM. She's been in radio and media for the past 2 decades. She's like everything you want to know, media, radio, etc. She used to be station programming manager, and she's still on radio. She's on the air. This is Ayati, right? Let me show you something else. This is Caesar. Caesar, videos, filmmaking, animation, the works, that visual world, she's killer. Virtual reality, this is your person, right? Stand up, guys. You too, stand up. Tanaka, where you at? Stand up. Right? All these guys are IP lawyers. These 3. They're IP lawyers. She's an IP lawyer with Scanlon and Holderness. They are IP lawyers with Bimatanga. Right? They're IP lawyers. For your IP stuff, go check them out. Right? This is Connie over here. Connie is Felinandi Management. Bother her. She is also a producer extraordinaire within the film TV world, right? She is, she's a brilliant mind. She's my sister. I know her, right? So bother her. So all the work that you see happening in that world, she's doing that. So if you want to learn management, if you want to get tips or anything, I'm doing this so that you can have a sense of who you're going to be talking to so that you can maximize the 2 minutes that you got. This is Tarone Gitare over here. Tarone Gitare is Jacaranda Music Festival manager. She's also an artist. She also runs my Gitare Trust, right? And she hosts the acoustic night. She does a lot of things. She is your person for events, for character development and all that. This is Taffy Roo. Taffy Roo is a musician, vocalist, songwriter. She also holds the camera. She's a creative extraordinaire. She's amazing. This is a journalist. This is amazing. She's a journalist and she's everywhere. She covers your events and everything like that. The reason why this is important is sometimes you do not have the resources or just the will to go say to someone, hey, what do you do? And you waste the time in the what do you do, not in the, Sha, I heard you're a lawyer and all that. So here's what we're going to do tomorrow, right? So that this is easier for everyone. We're going to do name tags and what you do so that it's easier for everyone. At the corner there, Tina, can you stand up for a bit? That's Tina Wachkoka. She is now in the education space, but she's a performing artist and she's really, really been in the space for so long. Bother her. She's with the UZ, right? Mandipa, where are you? Mandipa is over there. She's with Munch and Sip. She's doing a lot of incredible work with that product just alone. I'm Arnold. I'm so profound. I'm also a filmmaker. and I'm in radio, TV, a lot of cool things. Yes?
Hello, everyone. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Mataure. I'm the Women Development Officer from City of Harare. I coordinate women empowerment programs under the city, so I work with women all over Harare. I'm pleased to meet you, and I'll kindly come and ask for your contact details. Thank you very much to invite you to our programs. We host as City of Harare. I came with my team. Mr. Mawire, he does sports, arts and culture. Miss Mawire, sports, arts and culture. And Ms. Tisora, women, youth, sports, arts and culture. Thank you very much.
I'm going to introduce to you one more person, and we're going to get into speed networking. So how speed networking works is you only have 2 minutes to get around the room. The key thing is that you wouldn't have known that Tanaka is in the room and what she does without, like, you wouldn't have probably walked up to her and just done that. Or you wouldn't have gone to Caesar and say, hey, Caesar, how are you? So this is what I want to do, blah, 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 right? There's so much wealth in this room, but we want to tap into it, right? So you got to get out of your shell. So nudge your neighbor and say, get out of your shell. Say, get out of your shell. So, hold up. So, we've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes means that you have to meet 5+ people, right? With results. Not just meeting like, oh, so I'm an artist, so I'm working on this project, you know. No, with results, right? So, who's my timekeeper? Tari's my timekeeper. Tari, we're going to ring an alarm every time you have to change who to talk to. Right? No. We have to make it intentional because right? So, we're going to ring an alarm every time you have to change who to talk to. Are you ready? Okay, stand. Actually, let's make it 1.5 minutes. And your minute starts now. Huh? Eh. How you doing? This is Marianne Ball. Marianne Ball, singer, songwriter, artist, player, brilliant. So whenever it brings me, sweet. So remember when the bell or the alarm goes off, you move to the next person. You need to start rounding up. You're only left with 10 seconds for you to switch. Okay, switch to the next person. Switch. You need to move to the next person. Switch. Okay. We're starting again. You got 2 more minutes.
I hope you find the person you want to. I'm coordinated. You can't find me. I find everyone. Hello. How are you? Iowa. Networking coordinator. So you can't network. You chose a photo time. So the guys who are standing here, you're wasting time. You need to meet other people. Meet other people. More seconds, 30 more seconds, 30 more seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's time. Switch, 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 switch. You need to find someone else. Find someone else. I'm conducting. I was talking to you to say. I was batting. I was going to tell you. One of that. Out of